Okay, Steinway B from 1911 has a new soundboard by George Crawford, aardvark piano, new pin block and capped bridges as well, regilded plate, and I'm about to do action work on it. And first thing is to hear what we've got. So that's not a real good indication of what we've got because it's got the worn hammers that previously matched the original strings, and things, you know, are a little bit different. And let's see. It is interesting. It does seem to be somewhat of a difference of tone between the melody area. It is brighter down here, more high-pitched development, and a little warmer up here. So we'll see. So normally, if this were normal, if the piano came to me unrestrung, restored, I would go through and it was going to be regulated as such. I would go through and lift all the wire so I had no red herrings and no underlifted strings. And I will do that with this, but it's about at pitch at the moment, and it's going to go south of pitch during the course of my work. So toward the end, I'll set about bringing up the wire, settling it behind the bridges, and when I'm in the final stages, maybe just making sure it's settled at the front as well, gently, and then fitting now vertical new hammers, nicely filed, fitting strings to those hammers. And anyway, that's a process we'll get to later. And then putting new damper felt on after that's been done and regulating them. But meanwhile, where are we at the beginning? Everything is playing. It seems like there may be some friction. I just have to make sure that friction doesn't impact the hammers that are going to be used as samples, either for bedding samples or for strike samples. And I have to make sure that the hammers are up off their cushions. Appears that they are, but and that's important for the sampling. So the next step will be, I'm going to take the spring out, the action return spring, because that binds up the two ends, which are already the stiffest parts of the system, and makes it easy to have information obscured that's needed to do a good bedding job. I will then shim the outer back two dogs so the action goes into its current position anyway. A little bit of tweak at the end may be desirable. That way the action can come in and out and it just is stopped in the right place, such that the cheek blocks would just drop into place. That makes it much easier to work with. And then I will set about validating the bedding that is there. And I will test the front rail with fingers, the back rail with a long screwdriver through strings between hammers and parts down to the cloth on the back rail. And before that happens, I have to take some case parts out of the way, of course, and the shipping rail off. I need to back up the glide bolts, because if those glide bolts are bearing too much, then that potentially changes the fit of the back rail and or the front rail. So we've got to get that out of the way. Then I do back rail first, front rail second, balance rail. And once all that bedding is in place, I do my sampling. I also bed the cheek blocks, typically with an older piano with brass fittings, as the Steinway has. The brass will have worn, and there will be a need to remove the factory shim and even possibly to shim the brass fitting. But I found that sometimes it's actually the other way around, where the cheek blocks are bearing too hard on the key pins, and that can be problematic for the way things fit and for the soft pedal. So in any case, the process there is to have the cheek block so that it bears on the key pin and shim to where it just doesn't bear, to where it just completes the fit of the front rail. And so when the bedding is done, then the string height, or rather strike sampling, can be taken place. And when those are in place, I take the action to the regulation station and adapt it to the symptoms in the action, so that they function with the same geometry as they did in the piano. And please like, subscribe, or follow the link in the notes to my website.